Hey, what's up? This is Ian, and I'm going to do a video review of the AT-HD560 HDMI audio video scaler. So this is what the AT-HD560 looks like. It's just a small box. Let's start with this side, the input side. So on this side you have HDMI, stereo analog audio, and Toslink SPDIF digital audio. And this is the power supply. One thing you'll always complain about the power supply is the power adapter is this bulky thing that plugs into a wall and blocks power strip outlets. On the other side you have the outputs, HDMI, Toslink SPDIF digital audio out, and stereo audio analog out. And these are the buttons that you push to access the menu. It's menu to show the on-screen display, and you have plus and minus to navigate. The Atlona HDMI audio and video scaler takes HDMI input and converts it to a different HDMI resolution and frame rate. The most common use for this is, for example, taking a Blu-ray DVD player from Europe and using it to play on an American HD TV or vice versa. Even in this modern day and age, high definition still runs at 50 Hz or 60 Hz, depending on what country you're in. Another common use for the AT-HD560 is to take a 1080p source and downscale it to either 720p or 1080 interlaced. By downscaling the HDMI, I could still play Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 in its native 1080p on a TV or monitor, but split the signal to the Atlona and downscale it 720p to the VOHD HDMI to component converter I have, so that the Hauppauge HD PVR1 accepts it. One of the special features about the AT-HD560 is that you could use DVI to HDMI, either in the form of an adapter or an HDMI to DVI cable. Keep in mind, if you're using an HDMI to DVI adapter and it plugs like this, it could block the either the SPDIF or audio input. What I would do in that case is I would get an HDMI swivel adapter and plug the HDMI end there. That way, if I wanted to use the adapter, I wouldn't block any of these audio ports. So one of the things you could do with this scaler box is you could convert DVI and audio and merge it into the same HDMI out signal so you could use it on an HD TV or vice versa. Take an HDMI input and output into a DVI monitor with audio separate. Another cool feature is that it can take DVD digital through an adapter from a computer or DVD player, merge the audio with it so it becomes a single HDMI signal with optional scaling and frame rate conversion. Likewise, the Atlona can take a single HDMI source and can adapt and split the signal to a DVI digital monitor and separate speakers. I used to do this with an old computer monitor that I no longer have, so that's neither here nor there. The computer resolutions the Atlona works with range from VGA 640 by 480 up to WUXGA 1920 by 1200. However, they're very limited. For example, I have this HD TV upstairs that takes a resolution up to WXGA, which is approximately 1360 by 768, but the Atlona could only scale either XGA, which is 1024 by 768, and SXGA, which is 1280 by 1024, and it doesn't do in between. HD TV resolutions are even more common, but less of a problem. As low as standard definition PAL, 576 interlaced or NTSC 480i, progressive scan PAL 576p or NTSC 480p, and high definition all the way up to PAL 1080p 50 and NTSC 1080p 60. I use this AT-HD560 for taking HDMI input from PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, play it in 1080p, but use this to downscale it to 720p so it could go into this. This by itself doesn't really scale 1080p to 720p, and then I would use the component out and plug it into my Hauppauge HDPVR1. As I mentioned before, I had to use this to convert 1080p to 720p because the View HD by itself doesn't downscale and the Hauppauge HDPVR1 only accepts 720p or 1080i. This was mostly a luxury to still play Xbox 360 or PS3 in 1080p while still using the HDPVR1. I learned later on this was a necessity to capture iPad 2 footage through its HDMI adapter, since it's always 1080p on the HDMI to component converter, and there's no way within the iOS settings to change it. Overall, the View HD device I reviewed earlier allowed me to play HDMI, but capture with component on the first generation Hauppauge. But combining the Atlona allowed me to play on HDMI on 1080p, but capture on 720p with component. And this was my capture card setup since 2012. I hope you enjoyed this review and retrospective of the AT-HD560. Please add me to your circles on Google+, Yasha the Final Act. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Pinterest. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
10 degrees south, 76 degrees west. Alphias Mangere Ozymandias. What? It's all in the glyphs. It's all in the glyphs, Joe.
Let's make this really shine.
Where are you going, sir?
Let's walk together, wherever this path may lead.